Hello, Rajidale. Welcome to Dharma sharing. So we are now trying to understand these different trainings in the engaged bodhicitta, and those are known as the 6 paramitas, which are very important, which we must practice in order to attain perfect and complete Buddhahood, in order to benefit Senjin beings. So there are 6 different paramitas, and among the 6 we have completed the first 2. The Dana Paramita, which is a practice of giving. It can be giving of wealth, giving of protections, and giving of Dharma without any kind of attachment and expectation. And then we have this second type of paramita, which is known as the Shila Paramita, the perfections of moral ethic, and that is to do with the disciplining our conduct, disciplining our body, speech, and mind, restraining our body, speech, and mind from harming others, and then maturing our mind in order to accumulate virtues, and then finally benefiting sentient beings because of that quality. And these are the 2 different types of paramitas. And today we are going to learn more about the third paramita, which is known as the Shandi Parameter, or the perfections of patience. So before we do so, we recite various prayers followed by generations of bodhicitta and then supplication to Guru. Sangye Jadan Zogye Jonam La Jonju Bado Dane Gyapson Chen Dage Jinso Gebe Sonam Ge Rola Benjir Sangye Drobaresho Sangye Jadan Zogye Jonam La Janjo Bado Dane Gyapson Chen Dagi Jinso Gebe Sonam Ge Rola Benjir Sangye Drobaresho Sangye Jadan Zogye Jonam La Janjo Bado Dane Gyapson Chen Dagi Jinso Gebe Sonam Ge Rola Benje Sangye Drobaresho Sangye Jadan Zogye Jonam La Janjo Bado Dane Gyapson Chen Dagi Jinso Gebe Sonam Ge Rola Benje Sangye Drobaresho Senjin Tamje Dewa Dan Deve Gyudan Dembara Gyurje Dunga Dan Dunga Ge Gyudan Dawa Gyurje Dunga Mebe Dewa Damba Dan Mendawa Gyurje Ngiren Jada Nidan Dave Danyum Jembola Nebara Gyurje Senjin Tamje Dewa Dan Deve Gyudan Dembara Gyurje Dunga Dan Dunga Ge Gyudan Dawa Gyurje Dunga Mebe Dewa Damba Dan Mendawa Gyurje Ngiren Jada Nidan Dave Danyum Jembola Nebara Gyurje Senjin Tamje Dewa Dan Deve Gyudan Dembara Gyurje Dunga Dan Dunga Ge Gyudan Dawa Gyurje Dunga Mebe Dewa Damba Dan Mendawa Gyurje Ngiren Jada Nidan Dave Danyum Jembola Nebara Gyurje Balden Zave Lama Rimboje Dagi Jewro Bemen Denjola Kadin Chembe Gone Jason de Gosung Toge Ngodo Zadu. Okay, so third paramita, the perfections of patience. And this is very important practice, and it is the most difficult practice. That's why Shandi Deva said there's no virtues than the practice of patience. And on the other hand, the anger, that is where we need to practice our patience too, with anger. And there's no such powerful disturbing emotions like an anger. Anger can, when you're angry, it can take your peace of mind, and it can also destroy your root of virtues. If your root of virtues or the merits that you have accumulated, if they are not dedicated, then there's a risk of destroying all these virtues by the anger. So therefore we always need to dedicate our merits for the well-being of others. And this practice of patience is not just suppressing your anger. It is completely free from holding anything or holding resentment in your mind. There's no any kind of resentment in your mind. It's completely free from holding resentment in your mind. It is not being disturbed. Practicing patience is not being disturbed by negative afflictions and emotion, and especially in this case from anger, and not retaliating or not taking revenge or not counteracting, just simply maintaining your peace of mind. And while you remain at ease, not retaliating or not counteracting. At the same time, you are being mindful, you are watching, you are analyzing the situation, you're analyzing, investigating the one who is giving you hardship, the one who is angry with you, the one who is showing these wrathful appearances and using harsh words in front of you. At that very moment, you're being able to investigate the situation and try to understand in its deeper meaning, rather than just pointing our finger and counteracting, retaliating. These are not useful resolving the problem. So here in this case, you should be able to maintain your peace of mind, not disturbed and distracted by this the hardship or the disturbing emotions of anger by others, and remaining at the ease, and by investigating the situation and trying to understand it in more deeper way. Try to look these situations from the different angle, from the wisdom angle, from the point of view of wisdom, trying to understand the situation in more deeper level, so that you are not overpowered by your anger, just like he's doing now. He or she who is just shouting at you, showing this wrathful attitude to you, if you act in the same manner, then you can't really differentiate who is better, who is pure and who is impure, who is better and who is not, because you both are overpowered by anger. But as for yourself, as a practitioner, as a trainer, training these 6 different parameters, we should need to have the ability to maintain at peace and try to investigate the situation. Okay, so this is what the patience means here. Not just suppressing anger. That's not patience. Just forbearing and suppressing anger once, twice, third, and at last you blast out, then everything goes wrong. That is not favorable here. That is not advisable. So GAMPOPA presented this 3rd paramita in the same manner by presenting from 6 or 7 different topics. The first is reflections on the faults and virtues. They're reflecting on what is good, or what are the advantages of practicing patience, and reflecting on the faults or the shortcomings or the disadvantages of not practicing patience or being impatient with the situation. Second is the definition of practicing patience, and third is the classifications of patience. So we have already studied the first 3, and now we are in the 3rd topic, characteristic of each of those classifications, different types of practicing of patience. So the 3rd one, GAMPOPA mentioned that the characteristic of each of those classifications. The first classification, that is known as the patience of feeling ease towards someone's harm. So the first one is practicing patience, by investigating the nature of the one who creates harm, who is creating you harm, who is giving you trouble. So you are trying to investigate the nature of that person who is harming you, rather than retaliating, rather than counteracting. So how you can do this? You can do this through, as GAMPOPA said, through different ways of investigating the situation. And here GAMPOPA did mention there are 9 different steps or 9 different topics one can really investigate the situation with, handle the situation in a proper way, in a proper manner. So the first type of patience is not getting angry towards those who is harming you. Instead, the one who is beating you or insulting you or harming you or hating you, you and your family members, someone's harming you and your friends, family members, your dear and near ones. What usually we do as ordinary being, we retaliate, we take revenge. We also have the same attitude, will also show them the same attitude. You also present in the same manner with anger. So that's not resourceful. That is not resolving the problem. That is creations of another problem, in fact. So as a practitioner, we need to have patience, but with knowledge, patience with wisdom. Not a stupid patience, forbearing, and one day you're blasting out and you say enough is enough, and then you fight. Then you invoke all sorts of non-virtuous acts. That's not healthy at all. So here, situation is more calm, more peaceful, without holding any kind of negativeness or hatred inside. So this is more pleasant and peaceful manner of practicing patience and handling the situation in proper way, handling the situation according to Dharma. And there are 9 different topics that GAMPOPA mentions how we can handle the situation and how we can practice the first patience, the patience of feeling ease towards someone harmful. So among these 9 different topics, the 9 different ways to investigate the nature of someone who is harming. So first one is investigating that those who harm you have no freedom. So when you encounter someone is hurting you or someone is harming you, at that very moment you should remain at ease, peace, and then not retaliating or not counteracting, but you are dealing with the situation, try to understand more with your wisdom. And first one is to investigate that those who are harming you have no freedom, because they are overpowered by different negative ambitions and emotions, and especially in this case they are overpowered by anger. So therefore you have to have sympathy for them. Oh, poor guy, he is overpowered by this anger, That's why you have more compassion than giving rise to being angry or anger. For example, take someone like Devadatta, who had no freedom to avoid harm due to the power of hatred. So someone who is always overpowered by hatred and aversion, like Devadatta, who is always harming others. So when hatred is present in particular being, one has no power not to dislike the object of hatred. So when they are overpowered by anger, they always dislike people. They always have something, that is disturbing their mind. They always have something bad to present. Therefore, since that person has no control over their defilements, then there is no reason to retaliate. He or she is already victim. They are already victim of defilement, and here especially they are the victim of hatred. So they are already victim, and if you do not need to add more suffering to them, no need to retaliate. Instead, you need to have compassion towards these individuals. It is said, hence everything is governed by other factors. They are governed by the different negative afflictions and emotions, and in this way holding and nothing governs itself. Having understood this, I should not become angry with phenomena that are like apparitions. So they are like delusion, they are not them. They are overpowered by someone else. They are like patterns or magics. They are not them truly. So they are someone else. They are governed by someone else. So therefore you feel pity to them, and you feel sympathy to them, and this is how you handle the situation. They are already victim of anger, so you don't want to give them more suffering. So this is how you control the situation and transform the situation into positiveness. This is how you can practice patience. So see, there's no suppressions of anger anywhere here. It is more like liberating. Actually, it is more like developing compassion and developing insight, the wisdom to know the situation in better way. then that of, usually what we do, always blame others. You always have something to point out, and you always have the good reason to get angry towards that individual, because you always have the good reason, good excuses. So here is different how you can handle the situation, and this is the perfect handling of the situation, because it does not create another cause of suffering. It ends there. Otherwise, from the normal point, or from the normal perspective, when we really retaliate, and when someone says something bad to you and you say the same thing back, and that is the creation of another cause for another suffering, and it goes on, not necessarily now, but then it comes back again. That is why this here, what GAMPOPA is mentioning here, is the better solution. Then the second topic, how we can investigate the situation, especially with regard to the one who is harming you. Investigating that this harm is fault of your negative karma. So we always blame others, but you should also know that there is also your contribution of the situation. If you have not said something bad to them, they would not have they would not do the same to you. It is maybe because of your previous karma or previous actions of this lifetime or the previous life. It is because you had said something, you did something wrong, so they are retaliating, or they are now taking the revenge, and they are now harming you. There's very much possibilities. So you should also open your heart and try to see the situation from the different perspective, different angle. So the second one here, in my previous lives, I have harmed others in the same way that I am now experiencing harm. This is another possibility. So if you investigate from this kind of, from this angle too, then things will get much peaceful. You will have more understanding, and then you will not get angry as you used to. Therefore, since this is the fault of my own negative karma, there is no reason to retaliate. It is said, previously I must have caused similar harm to those other sentient beings. So therefore, it is right for this harm to be returned to me. So, because of believing in the karma cause and effect manner, obviously, we have to accept karma. If we believe that our hardship of practicing the Dharma and practicing the 6 parameter will be able to give result of perfect and complete Buddhahood, then we also need to believe that if we have accumulated a negative karma, then you will be able to you will be experiencing the suffering as well in return, in the same manner. So therefore, it is right for this harm to be returned to me, and who is cause of the injury to others. I myself was the cause. I did something bad to them. Therefore, I am now experiencing the same, harmful because of that cause. So this is another way of investigating the situation. Not only blaming others. If you always blame others, obviously you will get angry because you have good reasons to get angry. But if you look from this perspective as well, then you share the cause 50-50. Maybe then it will reduce your anger level to 50%. You also think, oh, because last time I said something to him, that's why now he's angry and he's taking the revenge. Okay, that's his right. The karma, what you have done, it will come back to you. So if you believe in that, this will also reduce your anger, and it will make you easier to practice patience. Likewise, the third topic of investigating the situation is the investigating that his harm or this harm is the fault of your body. So if someone is hitting you, if someone is yelling at you, shouting at you, insulting at you, at that time, obviously, as being normal, ordinary being, you get angry. You will also do the same thing to them. But as practitioner, now with more wisdom, with more mature mind, we also need to think that, yes, whatever he's doing is not right, not good. He is also overpowered by negative afflictions and emotions. He has no control over his own body, his own speech. That's one thing. And secondly, also taking the same, possible same possibilities of your contributions as well. And here it says, yes, because of me being born in this world, because of me having these 5 skandhas, this body, this very body is also one of the cause for his or her target. If I don't have this body, then where he or she can hit, there's no target of hitting. So me, by being born in this samsara, because of my negative afflictions and emotions, I'm also one of the reason why they are angry too, why they are harming too. So this will also reduce your anger, and by taking the responsible. If I had not have this body, the other person would not have a target at which to throw his or her weapons. Therefore, since this is due to my having a body that I receive this harm, there is no reasons to retaliate. As it is said, both the weapon and my body are the causes of my suffering. Both his weapon, whatever weapon he is using to hit me, and my body as being there as a target for him or her. So these both are causes for my suffering. So we should take 50-50 responsibilities. Since he gave rise to the weapon and I gave rise to my body. See, since he gave rise to the weapon, he has a stick on his hand and he's hitting me. Since he gave rise to a weapon to hit me, and since I gave myself, this body to receive this, his hitting. So with whom should I be angry? We are same manner. We are in the same, responsible. We are sharing the same responsibilities here. So this is how you can practice patience. This is how it will reduce your anger, or it will enlighten you not to get angry. So these are wonderful instructions, and obviously, as I mentioned before, these are not easy to practice. This is very hard to practice, but this is not impossible. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all the precious teachers of the past and present, they have practiced this same manner. Therefore, they have defeated anger, and they are victory over anger. So we can also do the same thing, since we all hold the same Buddha nature. Remember, GAMPOPA at first beginning he said, we all have this Buddha nature, so we all have the root cause. We all can liberate ourselves from the suffering of samsara. Then the fourth point, to investigate the situation, especially with regard to the one who is harming you, investigating that this harm is the fault of your mind, not only your body but also your mind. Why is so? Because your mind has given so much attention towards this body. Your mind cherishes this body so much, so that you can't bear if someone says something about your body, if someone says something negative about your body. So therefore it is also your fault. Why did you give so much attention to this body? Why did you cherish so much of this body? This body that will fade, this body that will get old, this body that will get sick, this body that will leave your mind one day. So there's no much reason, no much meaning of cherishing this body so much, paying so much attention to this body. So if you have not given so much attention to this body, and if you have not cherished so much of this body, then if someone says you look like a pig, okay, it's fine. If he says pig, if he says I am pig, I will not turn into pig, I will not transform into pig. So that's fine. It's just empty words. So this kind of wisdom is very helpful. Tackling with difficult situations, it really helps how you can see the situation from different perspective. So this mind is responsible, cherishing this body so much, which is of this nature of suffering, which is the nature of such suffering of change. This mind didn't know this fact. And once this body leaves, this mind really gets upset and disappointments. So therefore, the fourth one is, to know that this harm is the fault of your own mind. I do not regard this excellent body as something that can easily tolerate others' harm. So precious. Instead, I hold it as a fragile and inferior body. Fragile, precious. Therefore, it is susceptible to harm. Obviously, you didn't give trainings to this body, You have kept this body so precious, so sacred, so it can't bear the, hitting of others. It can't bear, when someone says something bad about your body. So therefore, we need to train this body. We should not cherish this body so much. We should release this body from our attachment. Then it doesn't hurt you so much. Then it will not give you rise to anger. Since the harm is caused by my mind, there is no reason to retaliate. As it says, if in blind attachment I cling to this suffering abscess of a human form, which cannot bear to be touched, with whom should I be angry when it is hurt? So it's the fault of your mind too. So we should, let it go, relax. And if someone hits you, that's okay. If one says something bad about you, that's still okay. Why? You say okay because of you are, not knowing the situation, because you don't have courage to retaliate. No, we're not talking about this. We have better resolution here than retaliating. Retaliating is very easy. Everyone can hit you back. If someone hits you, they can hit you back. That's the easiest way. If someone throws me stone, I can throw back stone too. If someone says something bad about me through their speech, I can do the same thing. That's the easiest way. But here, what I'm doing is I'm trying to investigate the situation. I'm being more kind of warrior. I have more strength, to tackle situation, to forbear the situation, to have patience with the situation. Not all of us can do this. It looks like, from the worldly point of view, as I mentioned previous session, it looks like when you're practicing patience, it looks like you are weak. You can't retaliate, you can't fight back or shout back. It looks like you are weak, but no, you are not weak. You are more stronger than. As I mentioned earlier, retaliating or counteracting is the easiest way. But remaining peace, calm, and tackling the situation, like what GAMPOPA is mentioning here, investigating the situations, that is more harder than throwing the stone back, shouting and yelling back. We need courage to do this, practice patience. So in fact, you are winning. You are defeating your anger, and you are winning from anger, and that's better resolution. Even though it looks like, from the samsaric point of view, it looks like you are losing, you are defeated, but no, actually you are defeating anger, you are winning, you are becoming victorious than others. So that is why we need to think that this fault is also because of my mind, cherishing this body so much. So now I can't forbear, I can't take any any small slight things which has been taught or raised by others, hit by others, or harmed by others. The fifth point is investigating the both have equal faults. We both have equal faults. And as said here, should one person ignorantly do wrong and another ignorantly become angry with that particular being, whom would it be a fault? Who would be at the fault? And who would be without fault? See, one people with ignorance or overpowered by anger and yelling at me, and I as a second person again acting in the same manner, overpowered by anger and shouting and yelling at him. So who is with fault and who is without fault? We are both faulty. We both have fault. So this is how to look the situation, taking 50-50 shares here, contributing of these unwholesome deeds, contributing this unpleasant situation. So that's why it says, investigating that both have equal faults. Therefore, be cautious with the faults and mistakes and practice patience. So therefore, we need to be careful and we need to practice patience with, wisdom. Not idiot patience, but with wisdom. Idiot patience will be like suppressing your anger once, twice, third, fourth, and finally blasting out. That's not useful at all. That's even dangerous, I think, with lots of, holding up anger, hatred, resentment. Now the sixth point to investigate the situation is to investigating the benefit one receives. If I practice patience with this particular being who is harming me, harmful one, evil deeds will be purified through this practice of patience. Obviously, you will be able to purify the hatred, and you'll be also be safe from creating another cause of unhappiness or suffering. If he or she hits you, if you hit him or her back, that's the creation of another karma there, isn't it? So if you practice patience, then what happens is evil deeds will be purified through this practice of patience. You will not create another bad karma there. I will perfect the accommodations by purifying evil deeds and will attain enlightenment by perfecting the accommodations. Obviously, if you practice patience with this kind of knowledge, with wisdom, with analyzing the situation, with investigating the situation, and with trying to look at the situation from different perspective, then you'll be able to maintain practicing patience, and you'll able to overcome your anger. And this is how you can develop, this is how you can become nearer to Buddha and be able to attain enlightenment and perfect all the accommodations. Therefore, this person who harms me is in reality a great benefactor. So I should practice patience. So thinking that who is hurting you, who is harming you, that particular being is actually in fact a great benefactor, because he or she is giving you an opportunity to practice your patience, and thereby practicing 6 paramitas, you'll be able to reach enlightenment. As it says, in dependence upon them, the one who is harming you, I purify many evils by patiently accepting the harms that they cause and so forth. How wonderful is it? Then the next topic, the 7th, is investigating the gratitude. Here, without the perfections of patience, the achievement of enlightenment is not possible. Yes, we need to practice all 6 paramitas in order to attain enlightenment. So if you are missing one, it's incomplete. Without the harmful one, the one is harming me, I cannot practice patience. So how it links. Therefore, this harmful person is actually a dharma friend to whom I have to be grateful. I have to be grateful, and I have to thank them. Because of their harmful, I'm able to practice patience, and because of my practicing patience, I'm able to attain enlightenment. So therefore, they are grateful. So I practice patience, and it is said, I should be happy to have an enemy. How wonderful is it? These Dharma teachings are so wonderful. But it's hard to practice, but we should not lose our hope. We should encourage ourselves. And this is very, it's very meaningful actually. I should be happy to have an enemy for his assist me in my contact of awakening. And because I'm able to practice patience with them, he or she is worthy of being given the very first fruits of my patience. For this For in this way he is the cause of it. So this is how you generate gratitude, and if you are able to think in this way, you never get angry to them. You actually get happy, you actually rejoice in their contributions of harm. So see, it's just a matter of how you can look the situation from different perspective, different angle. We usually look at the situation from the negative point of view, but if you look from the positive point of view, these are fact. These are not some good story, these are reality, facts. If you implement, you'll receive the result. Obviously, you'll be free from quarreling, fighting, dispute, all these things, suffering, worries, anxiety. So we should follow these teachings and try to implement them into our life. The eighth one is investigating that all the Buddhas are pleased. If I practice patience, obviously all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will be pleased because they taught us to do so. If someone asks you to do something and you do it very well, what will they say? They will say thank you, or they will say I'm proud of you, isn't it? So likewise here, obviously all these beautiful instructions are shared by Buddha and Bodhisattvas and our teachers, and if you really implement them, that is the best way to attend our teacher, isn't it? Remember, attending teachers, spiritual master, that GAMPOPA mentions in earlier chapters. The best way to attend your teacher is by practicing what he has given, teaching, what Dharma teaching he has given to you. That makes him the most happiest guru. Rather than you're paying homage, or you're paying respect, or you are paying offerings or money or whatever. This is the best to attend spiritual master by practicing the Dharma. Likewise here, if you practice patience according to Dharma, then Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will be pleased. As it says, furthermore, what way is there to repay the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who grant immeasurable benefit and who befriend the world without pretension, other than by pleasing sentient beings? So, if you are able to please sentient beings, then Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will be so fond of you. If you get angry, if you retaliate, if you take revenge, then Buddha will have more compassion to you. Buddha really wants you to awaken from that delusion, that ignorance, that implementations of negative afflictions, emotions, non-virtuous act. Then you'll continually, suffer in this samsara, because you are not free from the cause of suffering. You are implementing, you are creating more and more karma, you are creating more and more of those causes of suffering. Then how can you be free from suffering? There's no way. So instead, we should think about how we can purify ourselves from engaging in this cause of suffering. The ninth one is the investigating that it brings great beneficial effects by practicing patience. As it says, for many who have pleased enemy have thereby reached perfections. Obviously, those who have practiced 6 paramita have reached enlightenment. And one of the practice of the 6 paramita is practicing patience, and which is the hardest part to do. And Bodhisattva Bhumi says, practice patience by cultivating 5 attitudes. Okay, we need to practice patience through cultivating 5 different attitudes. Okay, this is helpful. First one is perceptions of feeling close to the one who harms you. By investigating, by having sympathy to them, by thinking that, oh, I'm so sorry, the one who is harming you, he was okay yesterday. We are very close friends, but now today, because of he or she is overpowered by this anger, aversion, hatred, he or she has no choices. They are completely blind. So therefore, you're making more close to them. you having more, like mother having more compassion towards children who are sick. Obviously mother have same compassion towards all the children, but then more compassion when the children are in difficult conditions. So likewise here, if sentient beings appear to be wrathful and harming you, you need to be more closer to them. This is first kind of attitude. Perceptions of feeling close to the one who harms you, having more compassion towards them. Second is the perception that every feeling, everything depends on interdependence conditions. The person who harms you is dependent on different conditions, and is just a projected phenomena, or like seeing that they are also nature of emptiness. They do not really exist. The one who is harming you do not really exist. If you're able to, have this kind of perceptions, even better then. Then the third one is awareness of impermanence. That is to say that by nature sentient beings are, impermanence. They are subject to death, subject to fate, subject to sick. So why should I add more, suffering to them by retaliating? No need. They will die naturally. I don't have to kill them. They will die naturally. If you are retaliating, or if you are killing human being or sentient beings, then that means you are killing, someone who is already dead, because they are nature of death, because they are nature of impermanence. They will die sooner or later. Then you kill them, that is like killing corpse who's already dead. So by thinking the nature of impermanence, perception or awareness of impermanence nature. And the fourth perception or attitude is perceptions of suffering. All sentient beings are tortured by 3 different types of suffering. So you see them as who is covered by suffering, all the sufferings. So my duty is to eliminate those suffering, not establish more suffering to them. So this kind of attitude will help you to practice patience. Then the fifth one is perceptions of fully embracing sentient beings in your heart, thinking that they are suffering. They are like our own mother. They have been like our own parents in the past, and then you are showing your gratitude towards their compassion, and this is how you can embrace sentient beings in your heart and try to do something good for them. Okay, so in more detail now. The first perceptions of feeling close to the one who harms you. This harmful sentient being in other lifetime has been your parents, relatives, or teachers, or you receive countless benefits from them. This is also another way of thinking, making them close to your heart. If someone is hurting you, showing harmful act to you, at that very moment you can visualize them as your own children, or as your own mother, as your own teacher of the previous lifetime. So this will have, even though you do not know him in this lifetime, but we can imagine like this way, that he or she have been our own parents, have been our brothers and sisters. So that unknown people will be also close to your heart by this kind of imagination. Therefore, at this time, this kind of harm is not reasonable to retaliate. So practice patience by bringing him or her into your heart, thinking them as your own parents or your own relatives. So this is another way of thinking and taking harmful person close to your heart. One way is having more sympathy, because thinking they are overpowered by negative afflictions and emotions. Second one, perception that everything depends on interdependence conditions. This person who harms you is dependent on condition and is just a projected phenomena. This understanding of emptiness nature. Practice patience by contemplating that there is no self, there is no sentient beings, there is no life, there is no person who upbraid, or who beats, or who abuses, or who criticizes. The one who is harming you, you try to see the nature of that particular being. which is, knowing the true nature, which is not existing nature, emptiness nature. So if you don't have this fixation of that particular being, then you will not get angry. It will just disappear, Your anger will just disappear, and this is good way to practice patience. If you have the investigating or knowledge of wisdom here, trying to see them as emptiness nature, non-existent nature, then if you see someone's non-existent nature, to whom you get angry to, there's no target. If you are able to see this emptiness nature of the one who is harming you, if you are able to see the one who is harming you depends on interdependence nature. Interdependence means not having your own nature. That's why you need to depend on others. If you have own self-existent nature, then you don't have to depend on others. You are fixed. You exist. But since you do not exist, you are not fixed, so you need to depend on others in order to exist. Okay? So the third one is awareness of impermanence. By nature, Senjin beings are impermanent and subject to death. Therefore, practice patience by contemplating that there is no need to take life of others or kill others, because Senjin beings will die naturally. So no retaliation, no counteract. If someone's hitting you, you don't have to hit him back. He will die by nature. So this kind of wisdom also is very beneficial. It will support your practice of patience. It will support you how you can see the things from different perspectives. The fourth one is perceptions of suffering. All sentient beings are tortured by three types of suffering. Remember? All pervading suffering, suffering of suffering, and suffering of change. So all sentient beings are not free from all these three types of suffering. They are under, the nature of these three sufferings. So I should dispel their sufferings, not establish them in suffering. Therefore, I should practice patience towards their harms by perceiving their sufferings. So you should have, compassion. You should really, as you're being bodhisattva, when you give first, when you establish bodhicitta, you really, wanted to benefit sentient beings from this suffering of samsara. You really do not want to see them in suffering. You cannot bear their suffering, so therefore you want to liberate them from the suffering of samsara. So, and you have that motivation, you have that aspiration, and now in practical, when you really encounter someone's hurting you or giving you a hard time, then you should not forget your aspiration. You really want to benefit them. Then you don't need to, retaliate them. You shall see that they are under the three types of suffering, and you want to liberate them from the suffering, not to establish more suffering, not to add more suffering by retaliating and by hitting him or her back, by yelling him or her back. That's contradictory, towards your with your aspiration of benefiting sentient beings. Then the fifth one, the perception of fully embracing sentient beings. So how is that? When I cultivated bodhicitta, first time, when you generate bodhicitta, I did it for the benefit of all sentient beings, right? Very true. Therefore, when I practice patience, by fully embracing them, it is inappropriate to retaliate for small harms. Yes, you have good motivation, you have good aspirations, you generated aspirations bodhicitta, you have gone through all the trainings of aspirations bodhicitta, and now when you engage bodhicitta, practicing engage bodhicitta with these different trainings, you are now witnessing, the real situation of, people harming you, and this very moment you should think that, oh, I should, embrace them. I should practice patience by fully embracing them. So it is inappropriate to give them suffering. it's inappropriate to retaliate. So instead, I practice patience. I see this situation from this perspective, and I forgive them. I wish good for them. I try to expel their ignorance. So this kind of motivation will generate it if you are able to see this situation, harmful situation, from this angle, this perspective. So these are the 9 different topics that GAMPOPA mentions here, how you can practice patience. The first practicing of the first patience, that is to do with patience or feeling ease towards someone harmful. So I remember here saying, when we have this teacher training, obviously we have lots of students in the school, and all the time teachers are facing difficulties with the students' behaviors. So one time we are told that almost all the staff, teachers, they always complain about students. And then one time when you have teacher training, they said that there is bad in students, but there are no bad students. So this enlightened us. There are bad in students, there are no bad students. So what our responsibility is to take that bad out of the students. So you don't have to do anything to that students. What you need to do is you need to be diligent in order to purify that bad in the students. Likewise here, there are no bad Senjin beings that you need to retaliate. There are bad in Senjin beings, anger, aversion, jealousy, pride. So what we need to do is, our responsibility is to teach them, to be friend with them, and then to teach them, try to help them to take their the bad things from them, take the anger, aversion, desire, and so forth from them, jealousy and so forth, all this non-virtuous, all these defilements. So if you are able to help them, clarifying their defilements, anger and so forth, then you don't need to do anything to those individuals. You don't need to retaliate, because you see they are overpowered, they have no freedom. So remember this, there are no bad people, but there are bad in people. So our duty is to take that bad away from these people, and we all become, freedom. We all become freedom from these evil acts. And when we are free from all these evil acts, defilements, then there is a liberation, natural liberation, from suffering. So these are very good teachings, instructions that we should keep in our mind. So I remember the saying, love the sinner, hate the sin. Love the sinner because he is overpowered, he have no control, he have no, he has no freedom. So hate the sin, that act, that very cause of harmful act. They are the main cause, the negative afflictions and emotions. So if you want to hate, you need to hate those negative afflictions and emotions, not the individual who is overpowered by these negative afflictions and emotions. You need to love those individuals even more, because they are overpowered by negative afflictions and emotions. They have no freedom. So this is very good instructions with regard to practicing patience that we must keep in our mind, and try to see the harmful situation from the a better and wiser perspective. This is always possible, and this will be always the best resolution dealing with difficult situations. Okay, with this good news, we'll stop here for today, and we'll continue the remaining wonderful instructions of practicing patience in next session. Thank you. We shall dedicate. Sonam de tamje sigbanye tobne ngebe dhanam pamje ne kega nache balap thubai sebe zole dowa